It gladdens me to know that Odin prepares for a feast. Soon I shall be drinking ale from curved horns. This hero that comes into Valhalla does not lament his death. I shall not enter Odin's hall with fear. There, I shall wait for my sons to join me. The Aesir will welcome me. My death comes without apology, and I welcome the Valkyries to summon me home.
Hello, welcome to my Assassin's Creed Valhalla review. First of all, big up the Nerd Council and Saga, Assassins UK and Ubisoft UK for gifting me this copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla to play. This is another edition of the Assassin's Creed franchise. It is the second RPG element of this title. This time we've gone from Greek mythology to Norse mythology. You start off as Eivor. Eivor, you can be a male or female, doesn't matter, just like the last game, male or female. And at the start of the game, it's more of like introducing you to the game, you know, more about Eivor, what happened as a child, and then obviously it was an adult. As you can see from the screen, him being captured. Obviously you have to, basically at the start you have to escape from capture and then go and just basically round up with your friends essentially. But like, I'm not going to focus too much on that part of like the game. The intro is kind of your forget it intro. I'm going to do is talk about like the game itself. So at the start, like, you know, you get to grips with all the features, like the climbing. One thing that sets Assassin's Creed apart from all of its competitors is the climbing. The climbing, the scaling, the interaction with different environments is just amazing. And obviously the whole thing, you remember the synchronization from past titles. This is what it is. Like, Assassin's Creed is all about scaling objects. It's not just great heights and whatnot. But this, I think on this version of the game, it takes it to another element, to the sense where like your interaction with different services is actually so sick. There's only a few things that you can't scale. So it's not as if you can scale everything, there's only a few things you can't scale. But like the climate aspect of this game is very responsive. It's like you won't get this in other games. This is the USP of Assassin's Creed. So like it's 100%, yeah, 100% like is one of the best features of this game. But then you start to kind of like go through the paces, through the emotions at the start. So at the start of the game, you have a few little mini missions to do to kind of like get used to what's going on. Obviously, you have Raven Vision here, right here. So like your Raven can spot different points, and it's a good feature to use, especially when you're trying to find things, trying to like spot enemies, or trying to find entrances. I use it more for trying to find entrances to different points of buildings. So there's like a treasure hidden underneath which you can scan the area with your R3 vision and it'll tell you. But like, so it's a pretty cool feature to use. Obviously, with Norse mythology, I'm a big fan of Norse mythology, and you're going to see a lot of like me comparing it to things shows like Vikings, and just like, I'm not an expert, but just different aspects. Obviously here you got customization of tattoos, which was a big thing in Viking culture. Here Vikings love to drink, so you've got a bit of a drinking game later on. It's not like a big part of the game essentially, but it's a good feature. It's a little good mini game. You get this at the start of the game, so this is you getting to grips with the game and whatnot. Obviously I've got my curved horn right here. I'll be chugging. I chugged away at this at the start of the video, but this is my very own curved horn. Like, yeah, it's a little good like a little mini game, little side quest. But then you get to know more of the features of the game which are synonymous with Norse mythology. So things like raids. Vikings. This is the history lesson. Vikings used to raid a lot. They used to have raiding parties, so they'll go to different parts of the world. At the start, it was within their own kind of sector of the world, and then they branched out. So when they moved to England, when they started to raid England, legend doesn't state that one person did it, but if you watch Vikings, Ragnar Lothbrok, he was the first of the Vikings in the show Vikings to raid England. Now, Ragnar Lothbrok himself is a legendary figure in Norse mythology. You know, his story deviates depending on what you read and what you watch. But it's after Ragnar Lothbrok. But obviously Vikings used to raid different parts of England. and they used to raid monasteries. Monasteries were the parts where like had the most like treasure and the least guarded because obviously it's full of monks. But anyway, that's beside the point. Back to the game itself. Now the combat. Now you start to get familiar with the combat at the start. The combat of this game isn't. It's not the greatest. It's kind of limited. You got the light and heavy attack. You got your archery. You got your bows and whatnot. But it's not like out of this world. It's not really about combat. It's about timing. And the only way to improve those hits is this skill tree. This skill tree is going to help you kind of like improve your attacks. And if you see at the bottom, right in the middle at the bottom, you see the points. Now your point shows the level of your character. You're gonna buck some ops that are a lot higher like this. These are part of the Zealots. The Zealots are the guys who eventually start hunting you, yeah. But these are like level 90, level 90 rated guys, yeah. As you can see, you can't chat to them at your low level. So you have to level up. And the only way to level up is to do missions and acquire points, you know what I mean? And use that skill tree. And obviously you got your specials and whatnot. As you can see, bat it up just one time in it. But like it just shows you why power matters more than like your ability to use like the light and heavy attacks and whatnot, because really and truly you got to be able to fight like different kind of foes and whatnot. And I realized I played this on the hardest mode, so and I switched it to the easy mode just to test that out and see what the difference was. It's like your foes aren't exactly, they just inflict more damage on you. That's all it is. They inflict more damage on you and you die a lot easier, you know what I mean? That's it. But this right here is part of the typical assassin tree kind of like thing where you got the assassination, you got target, so assassinate, which is, do you know what, the overall like the game itself, there's a lot to do in this game, but it's a lot to do with nothing. Like you have different aspects. You can spend your time going around doing a lot of the main mission, and then you have a lot of side missions. The side missions are they're just so dead. Apart from like the assassinations, the Zealots, and just searching for different kind of like let's say treasures or whatnot. There's not much that I like about the side missions. So it's literally about the main story, and the main story is quite good. It's typical like it focuses on the whole Vikings invading England. This is like the Anglo-Saxon days, you know what I mean? So I'll talk about the story afterwards. This right here is the seer. Now if you know about seer Viking mythology, seers are a big part of Viking mythology. These are where like, you know, the head of the clans, the kings will always go to the seers to kind of like help them obviously see the future, do you know what I mean? Or this part, early in the game, you get to the seer and you've got to find her comb. That's where the comb is. The comb is at the bottom of the lake. You have to go down and find it. Use your R3 to scan the area. Once you find a comb with her, you get to spend the night with the seer. You see, so the night with the seer, it's like a night of passion with the seer. So it's after you find a comb for her. But anyway, so the story, this is what happened essentially as with in Norse Mythology, Viking history and whatnot. It's all about power struggles. You don't agree with what the king done, and you and Sigurd is the son of the king, I think, and you Sigurd and Randvi all decide to go to England and start a settlement there, and that's where like the story takes off. Essentially, everything happened before this point. Yeah, it's literally just an introduction. You see how in Ghost of Tsushima, you do like the early bit, you do the early missions and whatnot, and then once you completed that, the game starts. It's essentially what here is. Obviously, once you've done everything, it's time to go. You set sails, and then you go for England. Again, Vikings in Norse Mythology, Vikings did it so that once they discovered how close England was and how to travel there, that's where they made a break for. And if you obviously look at the map of the world, England's here, and then you got Scandinavia, you got Denmark there, you got Norway here, you got Iceland there. So obviously it was across the channel, across the North Sea, just to get to England. Forget history lesson, you've landed in England. Now, once you get in England, you have to take over like an establishment. That's going to be your base. So once you land Rangoson's encampment, you take over and you start you set up a service. Obviously, before you take over, you got to enjoy a battle. You got to take on the locals who are there. Once you take over that's when the game starts. As you can see on the screen, you've got like, you know, a few cronies, a few Englishmen, a few Saxons, should I call them, if I want to use the correct term, and you've got to kind of like defeat them in order to actually start to set up your settlement. And this will be a base, and this gives you another chance, kind of like get familiar with the combats. Again, it's very early in the game, so you're not gonna be facing many bosses. You're literally just gonna be like getting to grips with like the combat system and whatnot. So once you do that, you go back up to the top, and that's like the epicenter of your base. So it'll be like where you sleep, where you read letters, where you kind of like interact with Sigurd the Ranfi, and you'll realize that a lot of key things happening around the establishments are going to be to do with Ranfi. Anyway, this is the map of England. The front of Mercia is England. So Mercia essentially is like England. Mercia is what England was, and you got Northumberland, East Anglia. Mercia was the most dominant kingdom out of like back then in the Saxon days. In Anglo-Saxon, Mercia was the place, and York was in Mercia, if I'm not mistaken, and London was in Mercia as well. And essentially, what you wanted to do was like help your involvement there is to help with the power struggle. So once you land in England, or Mercia, should I say, you are helping another king seize power from another king. That's all it is. That's what like historically all of this was about, the power struggle. Obviously, this all, if you look at history, this all kind of like becomes like the pinnacle of the Saxons. You know, the Battle of Hastings. The Battle of Hastings denotes that there were French Northmen who came and won and conquered, and that's kind of like I think that's where Richard the Conqueror comes from. Again, enough with the history lesson. So this is the whole point of like the storyline. You're trying to help King Ceolwulf dethrone King Edberg, I think his name is. Essentially, you're trying to you succeeded because after you've enabled him get power Mercia, you have to go and fight his boy. His name I want to remember once I get to the scene itself. But King Burger, that's who you have to dethrone. So it goes hand in hand with a lot of like the tales from like, you know, back then with the way the Norsemen used to invade England. Again, this is all after Ragnar Lothbrok, because again, Ragnar's sons are all in here, and I'm gonna have a little part where I talk more about Ragnar's son after this bit. After this bit. So the 5 sons of Ragnar Lothbrok are Bjorn, Ubar, Vista, Sigurd, and Ivar. You've got Bjorn outside out with the burners, obviously that's their name. So they come to England in a show to seek vengeance, what you can call it, for the death of their dad, who was killed by King Aelor, who dropped him in a pit of snakes. Now, in the game now, the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok come together to help dethrone the King of Mercia and put King Ceolwulf into power. So you can see the whole, like, the way these names pop up in different versions, different tales, different kind of like depictions of Norse mythology. The story always changes, but it's always the main characters, and the reasons for their involvement are always quite similar. It's all about killing kings, dethroning, power taking over, raids and whatnot, so it's all kind of similar. Ragnar's sons are who help you kind of dethrone King, who helped King Ceolwulf regain the throne of Mercia. And obviously after you do that, you have to fight Littlefinger. This is like the first proper like boss. Obviously, you know how games are. Games always have different level bosses you have to defeat. This is the first boss. The Littlefinger is Edberg, his name is his boy, and you have to defeat him. And this is where you have to kind of like, if you've managed your skill tree properly, and you've also actually got the right kind of specials kind of with you, you'll be able to especially showcase them. Because again, this game isn't heavy on combos, and the combat system isn't really smooth. It's not smooth combat system. It's quite clunky and it's quite like basic. But it's just how you know how to use the move and being able to pay attention to your rations, pay attention to your adrenaline is going to allow you to use some of these special moves that you can see right now. Bang, a special move. Like, so this is how you kind of defeat people outside of the light and heavy attacks, because the light and heavy attacks are going to do so much. So, and especially if you're a lower level than you should be. And now, this is the part where I've ended. I waited till I had a PS5 here to give you like this part. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a few issues with Assassin's Creed, and I think you notice them more when you get to this part of the game. Obviously, but the seer, I think her name is Valka, comes to your settlement. She gives you this potion, you drink it, you start hallucinating, you go to Asgard. Now, so there's a part I think this part of the game showcases all of the bugs that this game has. So you're in Asgard, and you are the headhunter of Asgard, and you got to protect Asgard. Basically, the giants of Jotunheim open Jotunheim gate, and you have to go and close it. But it's so fucking stupid. It's so bloody stupid because, like, it's just so unneeded. And once you start the mission, you're trapped there. Like, I was playing it, and I just didn't want to do it no more. And I think you can wake up. You can wake up here. However, like, once you get, I'm playing on hard mode. Remember, I'm playing on hard mode. So this part pissed me off. So I go 4. I chose 4 to help me battle the giants of Jotunheim, the God of Jotunheim gates here. And it's such a trek here from here to the action because you go to the bridge. You go to the bridge here and you're sprinting down, and then you buck the beef. You're like, okay, cool, this is sick action. You're fighting the giants and whatnot. You're bucking and you're defeating them, and then you're just doing your thing. This is my first time around, by the way, and you're doing your thing. And you're like, cool, this is enjoyable. So what you got to do is quickly just barrack these man there, and you're gonna go to the gate because obviously this is a dream. You drunk a potion, you're dreaming, and it's helping you with your issues, isn't it? So you're starting to fight the higher level giants, and then you fight the boss. Now, remember, I'm playing this on the hard mode, so like the NPCs here are less forgiving with their blows. If you get hit, you're done out here. Now, I butt these guys now. I've done with them. I'm thinking, yeah, after that, I'm gonna go and close the gate. And then you butt this guy. This guy just comes and brushes me. Bruv, watch this. So I'm taking him down. I'm punching him up. And then, like, I'm kind of low on health in it, but I don't think it's gonna be that bad. And then he just gets me. Bang, rips me apart. Like, nah. You'd think, yeah, the checkpoints will allow you to just go back to before the battle. But no, you go all the way back to the start. And because I was playing this part on the PS4, like, you can imagine how long the loading times are. Because loading times in between scripts here and between replays are stupid, which is one of the most annoying things about this. But after that, yeah, listen, if you play this, yeah, what mode you're doing it, forget, just run through all the bodies and go straight to the giant and kill him. Like, I did this on hard mode, and actually, I wish I knew what was going on. I would have put on easy mode just for this because, like, I'm telling you, it's unforgiving. Like, and this is why I said you got to use your fighting. With this game, because the combos aren't the greatest, you have to use your fighting IQ just to get through, like, some of these, like, bosses and mini bosses. Because, again, depending on the level, the difficulty you're playing on, some of the blows are very, very unforgiving. All it takes is one blow for you and you're dead. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that. So you have less about you on the defensive end, and the combat ends are outside of that. The specials, like, they're quite simple. You have to, in terms of defending, when it comes to parrying, you have to be quite smart with it, and you have to time it really, really well. But anyway, this is why I'm in the game. So I've done this part, and I close your Jotunheim gate, and then I get on with more missions in Asgard. So now this is my take on the overall game. Now, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a good game. I'm never gonna front, it's a good game. If I pay for this game, I wouldn't be upset I paid for the game because it's a good game, it's enjoyable. There's quite a lot to do, but it's how enjoyable is the things you have at your disposal. The main story is quite enjoyable. It's not as repetitive as I imagined, because past Assassin's Creed titles have been quite repetitive, but this one here isn't as repetitive, so I'm with it. But I think there's just a lot of bugs in this game. I don't like how slow your powering up is. Again, I think I'm at a point of the video. Well, at the point of this video, I'm probably like a level 51, I think, maybe, and I've got a lot more to do. So I can't wait to do the other missions. But my overall take on this game is it's a good game. Visuals aren't amazing despite the power upgrade to PS5. I play on PS5 now. The only thing on PS5 that improves, obviously, is with the super fast SSD, is the loading times are a lot quicker. So in between kind of like replay missions, yeah, it's not as bad. But saying that though, the checkpoints replay missions are stupid because the checkpoints aren't regular enough, and that's a discredit. It's quite frustrating, especially when you have long missions and whatnot. The combat end is very basic, but you have to become like somebody you have to become a bit more smart and wise how you use the moves. And it's not as fluid as something like Ghost or Tsushima, nowhere near on that level. And the side missions are, leave a lot to be desired. So overall, I'd give this game a 6 out of 10. Maybe not like a 6.5 out of 10. It's better than a 6.5 out of 10 because it's a good game. It just suffers from a lot of bugs, which is aren't great, and the basic combats. But overall, I'm a big fan of Norse mythology, and because of the way I love things, shows like Vikings and Vinland Saga and all those shows there, all those things there, I kind of like this game. So I'll give this game a 6.5 out of 10 because it had a lot of promise, but it just fell short of the line. So thank you for watching this review. Thank you to Nay Saga, the Nerd Council, for helping get me a copy of this game. Big up Assassin's Creed UK and Ubisoft UK for helping so many black content creators get early access to this game. So, and this review was quite long, but we got there in the end. So thank you.